I'm your host, Anna Stewart, and I am the Heart Centered Woman Confidence Coach, and I coach women on how to prioritize themselves without the fear of guilt or rejection. I am so happy today. We have a wonderful guest with us, Sade Kelly. Hello, Sade.
Hi, Anna. Excited to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. Sade Kelly is the CEO and founder of The Fire Inside. She is a time management coach. And as a time management coach, she helps ambitious women manage their time so they can achieve their professional and personal goals without sacrificing self care. Sade believes that when you can learn to leverage your most valuable resource, your time, you can be able to do and have anything you desire. And I love that so much. That's so
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you.
That gets me excited. I'm like, I can do anything.
Yes. I literally have, I don't know if you can see it, but I have a quote by Oprah behind there, and she says, you can do like basically everything, you just can't do everything at the same exact time.
Yeah,
So that's something I live by.
that I love that. Okay. So she is going to help us today because as recovering people pleasers, I know all of us need to work better on our time management. So I'm so thankful that she's here with us to help share, give some tips, and support us on this journey.
Yes.
So, Sade, what inspires you to become a time management coach?
Okay, so I want everyone to know on this podcast that I did not know what a time management coach was before I became one. I fell into this, and I want to inspire you to not feel like whatever you always thought you were going to be is what you're going to end up, and you don't know where you're going to go. So I'm just like I'm always constantly thinking of inspirational things. So of course I start there, but to share a little bit about my journey. I had always been an entrepreneur at heart. So I was one of those kids who sold snacks, boxes of candy. I was on the train with it, school. I was selling my mom's jobs. It was like everywhere. I was just like I just always liked making my own money since I was 10 years old. Um,
Wow.
and that, yeah, funny, right? So that led me into, well, my dad was an entrepreneur, so I guess maybe I had that spirit, but no one really else around me was an entrepreneur. I had like my dad and my uncle, and that was kind of it. So I ended up going to school for business. I thought I was going to go to school for journalism because I really loved writing. It was two things I liked. It was like business and then writing. So I wanted to do something with the mixture of both. So I ended up going to a school where I could study business administration and then do communications as well. So it was like the best of both worlds.
Okay.
And after I graduated school, I went right into the advertising industry. I really liked the idea of being able to shift the way people saw products and services and connect them with things that they loved. And I thought the medium of advertising was so cool because I remember seeing a documentary that where I learned like we see like 40 or 400,000, some large number of ads every single day that influences culture. And I was like, I want to be a part of
Wait,
influencing
how
culture.
many?
It was a large amount. It was like somewhere between like 40 to like 400,000 or something like that. It was a crazy number. I don't want to like say I
Wow.
remember the exact quote number, but I just remember it was from a documentary called Killing Us Softly, I think it was about advertising. And
Okay.
I watched that in school when I was in college, and I remember hearing that and I was like, I could work at a place where I could like influence that many people. I was like, boom, I want to do that.
Mm.
Um, so I ended up going into advertising. I was in that career for about 6 years, but all when I was in there, I just like didn't feel like it was where I was supposed to be. And I bet a lot of people feel that. So I was about a year and a half, 2 years in before I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start a side hustle. I'm gonna start a blog. I just want to like get back into writing again. And I want to share what I'm learning as like how to be an adult and live in New York City and figure out how to work in a corporate world and all of that I was learning. So I started my blog, which was The Fire Inside, which is now the name of my company. And I was doing blogging. I also did e-commerce business. I did influencer marketing campaigns. Like I was starting to become a serial side hustle. I started doing
Oh my
events.
God.
Yeah. Like I think I just like cracked the code on like, okay, I want to do everything creative outside of work that I'm not able to do at the work where I thought I'd be creative. So I ended up doing all those different side hustles. And one question I kept asking was, well, people kept asking me was, how do you make the time to do all these things? Like, I know you're like doing well at your job. Like, I it wasn't like I was like in the same position the whole time. Like, I had got promoted, I had moved different positions. I was doing account management. So I was managing maybe like 20 campaigns, like 40, 50 people teams. It was like a lot of work. Like it wasn't. But I still made time for what my dreams and goals were outside of work because I knew deep down, even though I didn't tell anyone, obviously, I knew deep down this is not where I was going to end up, and let me just let me just do what I got to do here and do well. But I knew I was going to be doing entrepreneurship because I just knew it was what I wanted deep in my heart. I think I knew that even at 10. So I ended up then meeting a business coach at one of my events that I had hosted.
Mhm.
And she was like, you should really get into events or you should really like do entrepreneurship full time. And I was like, no, I kind of like having both. It's fun for me. And I was like, I'm not making enough yet in this side hustle to really justify leaving my job. And she was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. And this was around the time of like March 2020. So it was like February, March
Mhm.
2020, right? So everything was about to change. So at this
Right.
at this time, my boss had this new position opened up in a new city where I wanted to live, Atlanta. And she basically my boss was like, if you want to go down there, we have this position, it would be a raise, it would be a new position, I was going to get a car, it was like the whole setup. I was like, oh
A
yeah.
car?
So my brand was Mercedes Benz. That's the brand I was working on. So yeah. So it was kind of like going to be a whole big promotion. I was like, wow, that would be an amazing position.
Yeah.
But I was hesitant to take it. And this is before the pandemic we even got announced. I was just like, that's not really what I want. Like I was like, I did want to move to that city, but I was like, I don't want that position. I wasn't really like, I don't know, I wasn't as excited as I thought I would be about it. And I
Yeah.
was more excited about the idea of what that business coach had put in my head of like, you could do your own thing. You could start
Mhm.
something else. Like, so I ended up doing a discovery call with her and we were talking, having discussions, and she was like, maybe you want to do this like coaching thing or events. Let's figure out what you may want to do. And at the same time, I didn't realize it, but I was coaching people in my life all the time. Like I had done workshops with friends, helping them with their time management, helping them figure out how to build their side hustles. And I did not know that's what I was doing for some reason, but I was helping them like gain 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever. All it's like that was just me. I was that friend,
Yeah.
and she helped me to see that that could be a skill. And that's really how I like got into time management coaching. And luckily I didn't go the events route because that would not have worked really well in the early 2020 time. But the online coaching was blowing up. So it was like I went right into it. April of 2020, I started my business.
I can imagine that that also was the perfect time for time management because Lord
Yes.
knows everybody's life became a hot mess in
Yes.
2020.
It was like we all worked from home and we didn't know what to do with ourselves.
Yes. Yes, that is amazing. I also really love the name of your business, Fire Inside. Like that just feels really good. So what, because obviously that started way before you were doing time management. So
Mhm.
what kind of inspired you to name your business Fire Inside?
So when I started this blog, I had posts written and I was just like, I don't know what to call this. I have no idea what I want to convey exactly. I was like, what is one name that can convey all that I wanted to like say in a couple words? I struggled with the name for so long. And then I remember, I think one of my friends or somebody was like, well, your blog is basically like you showing like that inspiration that you ignite in people. Like, you're just like
Mhm.
fiery and like the way you deliver things is like that. And I was like, yeah, they were like, I was like, yeah, it's like I have this fire inside. I need to let it out. And then I was like, oh, like the fire inside, I was like, this is fire inside Sade. And like, that's what I want to portray and like inspire people through. And that's literally how I came up with that name. I was like, oh, I love that.
That is beautiful because it really does encompass everything. And I kind of get that feel from you right now. Like I can totally feel like you are the time management coach that literally lights a fire and inspires people. So that is really beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
So what kind of struggles are people facing when they come to you?
Oh, so many things. So one of the number one things is people are usually burnt out. So they come to me because they're like, I am overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. I feel like I have this long list of to-dos. I'm never really get through it. I don't know why I'm not progressing towards my goals. So that usually is a big one. Another one is people are not consistent or they're just struggling with developing healthy habits, which I feel
Mhm.
like online everyone makes it seem like just do things consistently as if it's like so simple. Oh, just do it every day. It's so easy to build up a habit. It's actually kind of difficult for many people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a common issue. as well. Another one is people are struggling with creating a schedule and like sticking to it. I
Mm.
think another thing that's big online is, oh, just create a schedule, time block. And a lot of people are like, well, I have no idea how to even select my priorities, how to get things on the schedule, how to make time for my work without like bombarding myself, but then also having a personal life and having time with friends. I think as adults, we don't prioritize our personal lives as much as we did when we were kids. So that's another thing that typically people are coming to me for.
Yeah, I can totally see that. It's so easy to put yourself on the back burner when you
Yeah.
hit adulthood. Like it
Mhm.
feels like everything else is a priority. And at the end of the day, you're like, you just forget about yourself.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so what do you kind of like? What do your clients gain from you after working with you?
So they gain peace of mind, of course. They also learn how to increase their self-discipline. They
Mhm.
learn how to set healthy boundaries. We also cover how to actually prioritize your day and pick what are the needle movers in your life. So I'm really big on not just your professional goals, but your personal goals. Because
Yeah.
when I first started coaching, I was just like, oh, I'm going to help you, help you manage your time to reach your goals. But a lot of people's goals, they were just professional. They would come to me, it was like, I want to make this much money, I want to start this, yada, yada, yada. And I was always like, well, how are you feeling yourself? And they would just look at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, you don't have a wellness goal, you don't want to read a certain amount of books, you don't want to go to Greece, like, where is the fun in your life? And they would always look at me
Right.
like, isn't this girl a time management coach? But that's what I'm about. Like, I want people to have more fun in their life. So I'm
Yes.
really big on like helping people to start doing that. And of course we do talk about business and professionalism, and that's also big goals, but I like the balance of both. So I teach people that as well. I cover how to actually create a simple system that works for your life. So kind of just depends on where people are struggling, but some people we work on like their home systems, but we also work on their wellness systems, and then we work on their business systems or their professional systems, whatever it is. It kind of just depends on where the areas they're struggling in. I also cover, which is one of the biggest things, is mindset, right? Like people
Yeah.
come in with so many limiting beliefs. I just had a client recently who she didn't even know she had limiting beliefs. She was like, I don't have any limiting beliefs. And she had so many beliefs around time. And it was just really
Mm.
funny because she kept self-identifying as like a procrastinator, or someone
Mm.
who's always late, or she was like, oh, I just can't meet deadlines. And I was like, all of those things like you believe about yourself are being reinforced because you believe that. So
Oh, yeah.
that's another big thing that we cover, in addition to like also, creating your roadmap for your goals and making it really simple. My whole goal with my clients is like, when you come in, I want to make sure you learn tools from me and you have this level of accountability you need to like get off to a really amazing first 90 days. And then you should be able to go off and keep using these tools after me. It's like if you go to the gym, you use the weights, you start to see a little, you see some
Yeah.
gains. As soon as you stop, the gains go away. And I always tell my clients, I'm like, you now have the tools, you're equipped, so like you can keep going on and managing your time and your lifestyle really strongly.
That is beautiful. Okay, so I am familiar what systems are, but I don't know if everyone listening to the podcast is. Can you tell us a little bit more about what systems? Because you named several different kind of systems. Like, what exactly does that mean?
It's really just a process to simplify what you do in your life. Like if I can make it really, really simple, I think sometimes people think systems are complex or it sounds like something scary, like, oh, I don't know how to like it's technology or something, but not everything needs to be super complicated. To me, systems are just a simple process on how you're gonna do things. And we all already have systems in our lives. They may just not be working to the greatest ability or working in our favor.
Mm,
But anyone can create really simple processes on how to make their life more productive.
okay. So can you give me an example of like what a system would look like for someone who is struggling with recovering from people pleasing? Like what would be helpful to them?
Okay. I'm trying to think. So they're recovering from people pleasing. So what would be, I've
So
been trying to
let's
figure out like because when I'm thinking of a system, I'm thinking of like, what's the result? Like, what are they doing to help them recover? Because then I can help with the process.
that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's think of like a person who is trying to make sure that they make more time for themselves in the day because I think that's, definitely
Okay.
something we struggle with.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So you're recovering from people pleasing and you're like, okay, I need to make more time for myself during the day. The
Yes.
first thing I would say you definitely need to do is figure out when you're going to plan for your week, or if that's too large, some people don't like to like start that large. When are you going to plan your next day? So you
Mhm.
have to create a system around when you're going to plan your day and then a system for actual planning part of it. So the first part of this would be, okay, I'm going to plan my days. Mondays at 10 a.m. is when I sit down and I plan my days, because if I don't plan my days, I won't make time for myself. While I'm planning my days, I use I like to use Google Calendar, so I'm going to use that. But you can use anything. So I'm going to use that as for the sake of example. I sit down with my Google Calendar and I think about what do I want to do this week that really fulfills me. And then that's the first thing I plan into my week. Like maybe it's I want to watch Netflix on Monday, Tuesday. I want to go out for drinks on Wednesday. Thursday, I want to take a long bath, and then Friday, I'm going to get a massage. And like that's the first things you put into your schedule, and that's planned out before anything else. That way, you create a system around, okay, this is how I make sure I make time for myself. You mapped out how easy it could be, and you're doing it more proactively. And then that way, you're prioritized.
Oh, I love that. It's like a two for one. Like I'm getting the system in place and I'm practicing prioritizing myself. And I think
Mhm.
that's definitely really powerful too, because I think most people don't consider putting themselves in first and then scheduling around that. So that's really
Mhm.
powerful that you kind of, because I can just picture most people are like, let me put everything else into my day and then find
Find
a
space.
spot where I can fit myself
Right.
in.
Exactly. So yeah, that's why when you're thinking about processes, it really has to be catered to like what you're trying to prioritize and where you're lacking. Because if someone's like they know how to spend time with themselves, but that their issue is I don't know how to put my work priorities in, that's a different type of process or a different type of schedule we'd
Mm.
create, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what is your like ideal person to work with?
Ooh, ooh, that's a good question. I love working. This is tough. I know it shouldn't be tough because like every business coach is ever always like, you need to know your ideal client. It's not that I don't, but I just love working with like so many different types of people. But I will
Yeah.
say that the number one person that I love helping is usually like the person who comes in, and it's gonna sound funny, but the person who's like kind of skeptical.
Mm.
Like the client who's like, and I this usually happens to people who like work a 9 to 5 and are doing something on the side, because I really specialize with side hustlers. I'm really good with them because I know exactly the struggles they're going through, but I help full-time entrepreneurs, freelancers, like doesn't really matter. But the side hustlers, the ones who come in, they're like, I work 9 to 5, so I'm working 40, 45 hours, and then I only have about 10 hours left in the week. How am I going to build this business on the side? And then I got to make time for my kids, and then I got to make time for myself. Then I got to make time to work out. You know, they have like a long list of things, and it's almost like they're like yelling at me, but I'm like, okay, like I like this is nothing to me. I'm like, oh, I can already see it for you. Those are the clients I actually love to work with because I think they come in and they don't want to show that they're open, but they are because they know that
Yeah.
why they're here. And they're usually very motivated. So once I've shown them something and they start seeing results, that's what boosts their confidence. And then they're amazed at the end of what they've accomplished. I've had women on calls cry because they didn't believe that they could actually like start the business or
Mm.
get a website up
Wow.
or do a photo shoot. And these are just like byproducts of when you start learning how to actually manage your time, you start doing more and executing more. And I think one thing I see a lot of people do is they think they need more information. They're like, oh, I probably need to hire this other coach. I need to buy this course. And I'm not saying you don't, but what I've seen is a lot of times you have a lot of information. We live in an information culture right now. You can get information about
Yeah.
anything. A lot of times what people need the help is the implementation. Like you've learned and absorbed so much. You read all the personal developments. You've read Atomic Habits 6 times, but you still haven't applied the principles. Like that's what I'm helping a lot of them do, and that's where the big transformation comes into play.
Wow, that is amazing. And what kind of lights you up about this work?
I get lit up by helping people get closer to their dreams. Like, I
Mm.
don't know where this drive to help other people get inspired came from. I literally don't like some days I'm just like, why am I like this? But But that literally gets me fired up. And then I think back, and even in school or at my corporate job, like more than the work, I really liked helping people just like get things done, or I liked helping
Mm.
people feel motivated. Like I was always the person, like if you're going through something, I'm like, I could see it in your face, and I'm like, what's wrong? And they tell me, and they're like, well, it's not really work related, and I'm like, let's talk about it. Like, I don't care. And then I
Oh.
would help them work through it. Like it could be anything. I remember helping coworkers like with from dating to like work, like anything they wanted to talk about. I was always just like open and wanted to inspire them, make them feel like they could do anything. And I
Yeah.
think that's just kind of what lights me up. And when I see that in my clients, it really makes me happy.
That is so inspiring and so amazing. I can totally relate to you. Like, I feel like that too sometimes, like, because we live in such a culture that's like a me kind of focused culture. So when you are focused on wanting to help others, it makes you kind of feel like something's wrong with you, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah. It's like
you need to be more money and selfish focused. Like,
yeah, and it's like, no, I just get so much joy out of serving and helping. And yeah, I know I need to make money as well, but it's just like
yeah. Definitely want the money.
yeah. And we deserve it because of all the knowledge and value we give out. But yeah, that's definitely like the deeper meaning behind it. Even before I started this coaching, I like if you saw my Instagram, it was like, yeah, I was posting stuff, but it was always like inspirational quotes or like things I've learned. I wasn't just like dropping a Drake quote. Like that was never me. Not no shade to people who do that, but even before I was
Yeah.
a coach, that just like wasn't me. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay. So, what are some other tips that you can kind of share with recovering people pleasers for time management and also to kind of light this fire inside of them? Because I just, I feel like we all need to walk away from this call with some fire lit in us by Sade.
Yes. So I have so many things I could share, but one of the number one things I wanted to get across is one of my favorite things to share is that you have enough time, right? You just probably haven't assigned your time as well as you could be. And when I say assign your time, I mean a lot of us are not telling ourselves when. Like we know the how a lot of times, we know what we want to do, but we aren't giving ourselves the when. And that when it seems simple, like it seems like it's nothing. I think for a lot of people, they're just like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing it every day. I'm making progress, but I'm just like, when? Like when are you doing it though? And that's how things get procrastinated on. That's how things don't ever come to fruition. And you're like, going years and years and having the same goals each year and over and over again. And I want people to know that you do have enough time. You really just have to get clear on when you're doing things. You have to get clear on prioritization. And if you struggle with prioritization, the fastest way I could tell you to start getting better at it is just to ask yourself, like, what is the most important, urgent, needle moving thing that I need to get done today? And make it one thing. Now that is going to be really hard, especially if you're a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to like narrow down, especially making it the one thing that moves the needle in your life and not somebody else's. And being able to say no and set those boundaries, that's going to be really big. So if you can do that though, and just get yourself into a single focus, like stop multitasking. It's not helping you. I promise you, you'll get more done if you do things one at a time. We live in a culture where distractions are everywhere. These apps are designed to make us want to stay on. I remember like creating these Facebook ads for a company I worked with, and we were like just trying to figure out how to get people to stay on. Like, and that was literally my goal. Like, so like I'm telling you from someone who worked in the industry, this is their goal, to keep you on, to keep you scrolling because they're making money off of you, right? So don't let them have
That's
that
true.
control. Get really good at just separating yourself when you need to do like really deep work and do it one thing at a time. What else could I say? Get clear on what you want as well. I think a lot of people are not really clear on what they want, and a lot of their goals are based off other people's standards or something someone else told them they should do. And many, especially women, for some reason, I don't know if it's just because like I don't know what it is. I don't know if men are more encouraged to kind of do their own independent things and women aren't. But do you think that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think, culturally, like it's just been ingrained in us for so long to not
Yeah.
think about ourselves and I just think like culturally men are given more motivation to kind of be more selfish than women are.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I see that a lot with my clients, and we come in and I'm asking them what their goals are, like like I mentioned earlier, and then I'm asking them why. Like, why does that mean
Mhm.
anything like to you? Why do you want to
Yeah.
make that happen? And a lot of times we end up scratching a lot of the goals that they came up with just because they don't actually want those things. It's somebody else's goals, or they thought it would make them more money than something else. And if your reason is not deeper, then that's a lot of times why you've been procrastinating or why you haven't made progress in certain areas. So we do have to do some like areas of like soul searching in the beginning, which people don't always expect when they sign up for a time management coaching program. But you do have to do those things. You have to really get clear on like what you want to actually get done and why you want to do it. And I think that's a big factor in how you spend your time. Um, any other things? Let me think. So, and oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say you made me think of another question.
Oh, okay. So I'm like, I
So
could go on with the tips.
well, no, I definitely want more tips because I feel like everyone listening to this is just probably jotting them down just like this. So it's perfect because I'm also thinking. But I know a lot of recovering people pleasers struggle with believing that they're worthy of
Mm.
taking the time to do this stuff. So what kind of tips could you kind of give us around that of like, okay, we know we need to make ourselves a priority. We know we need to plan, we need to do all these things, but what are some mindset tips to kind of get us to believing that it's possible?
Well, the first thing I would ask is why not? Like, why not you? Why aren't you doing these things? And like, if you can actually answer that, most of the time when I ask people that, they don't have an answer, you
Yeah.
know? So I would ask yourself that, like, why not me? Why shouldn't you go after your goals? Like, do you not deserve that? You know?
Yeah.
Another thing I would say is where are you tying your self-worth to? Um, I'm not too familiar with people pleasers to know exactly if they like tie their self-worth to achievement.
A
But I
lot of
know,
times,
yeah,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
like achievement that's not really self-focused. It's more of like achievement because this is what I'm supposed to be doing, or this is what people expect from me, or so a lot of times people pleasers are booked and busy, but they're also overwhelmed and stressed out because they're not doing things that are actually for them and serve them. And like you said before, like the whole having goals and then realizing those aren't really your goals, like that's definitely something that on the journey to recovering from people pleasing, like it's a lot of shedding all these ideas that are actually other people's expectations of us and then trying to figure out, okay, like what is actually me.
yeah, okay. So I would then say work on figuring out where your self-worth comes from for you, like detaching it from achievement, whether it's achievement for
Mm-hmm.
self or achievement for others. That's something that I personally had to work on. I didn't realize that connection until I like until I had went to therapy. That's when she kind of connected like, well, when you're achieving, you're thriving, you're way more happier than when you're not. And I was like, so what? Like, that isn't that everyone? And she's like, no, you kind of like see your wealth, your worth in achievement,
Yes.
Yeah, and I was
Yes.
like, whoa, I didn't realize that. So I had to figure out like what else makes me feel like Sade. And that was a really hard journey to kind of go through. Like, so if anyone feels that way, I would recommend them going through that journey, whether it's through a therapist or just writing out like what do you like to do for fun? What makes you feel like yourself outside of like work related tasks? And I had to sit for like a couple of weeks and really think of like what makes me feel like me, like what other fun things do I like to do and how can I incorporate more time for those things? And it was like a deeper journey. And I also went down a really good self-love journey, just figuring out like what I love about myself, what do I want to improve, but then I'm also like happy and content with where I'm at, like trying to find the balance between that as well, because I think when you're really into personal development, it can be good, but it also can make you spiral a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I feel like I have to improve everything at all times and I'm never good enough. And you don't want to ever get to that
Yes.
place. Yeah. So yeah, I would say like definitely work on your self-love, your self-worth and where you feel like it comes from and getting comfortable with the idea that you're enough whether you're doing something for someone else or not.
Yes. Yes. That's powerful. I love that. Thank you, Sade.
You're welcome.
So what is the legacy that you'd like to leave behind?
Oh, I really want to be known for the person who helped people spend more time on things that matter to them, that they value and
Mm,
love. Like I want people to be like, oh, that girl, Sade Kelly, yeah, that coach, she was a powerful person who really helped me to spend more time on things that lit me up, that I valued, and to really get see the success that I always wanted to see for myself. Like if I could
yeah.
be remembered for that, then I've done my job.
I love that. Oh my gosh, you got me like so inspired over here. That's like,
Oh,
I don't know, that just feels really good. Like the fact that when you think about what you want to leave behind, it's about how you served others and how others are going to be better because of the experience they had with you. And that is really gorgeous. So thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that make me so happy is when my clients are like, "Oh, I told my husband or my friend about what I learned with you," and then they're doing it now too. And it's just like,
Ooh,
yeah, I love that. It's like a trickle down
yes.
effect. I had a client, she got so good with her time management. She went full time with her side hustle, and then her kids are now looking at different possibilities, and they're getting better with their time. Like if I can like leave that type of legacy, like that's just ooh, makes me so
Yeah.
happy.
That's the fire inside, right?
Yes, yes. I felt it. Do you feel
I do.
it?
I definitely do. I think we're all gonna walk away from this call like a little bit more motivated about and like even thinking about that too. Like I think, that's something that I teach in my coaching and I think I'm sure you probably talk about that too, is when you sign up for coaching, you're not only changing your life, but you're changing the lives of those around you. And like how important that is, like every single time you take a step forward to be better for yourself, like you're impacting yourself, and that's beautiful and
Right.
that's great and that's perfect. But also like your whole community changes. Like your kids are going to be
Hmm.
better, your spouse is going to be better, your family's going to be better. Like people who you don't even realize are watching you and they're like, damn, look at Sade. Like,
Hmm.
hold on. she's doing something over there. I'm inspired, and so you inspire people in ways you don't even know. So I love that. That's a beautiful legacy to leave behind. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here today. I really feel like you have like really breathed life into us. Like, I'm feeling like, I can even myself, like I've done a lot of the work that you are talking about, but I feel like the way that you say it in a different way is just a reminder to all of us to make sure that we're making the time for ourselves and not thinking about ourselves as an afterthought. I feel like that's a reminder that everyone can use at
Hmm.
all times. Like you said at the beginning, like adults, you get to this point, like kids were so selfish where you were front and
Hmm.
center. And then like you reach this point in adulthood and it's like trickled little by little. And I feel like you lose yourself and you don't even really realize that you're losing yourself. You just wake up one morning and you're like, what the heck is even going on?
Hmm. Hmm.
uh,
And yeah,
oh,
I
go
get
ahead.
that. I was gonna say, and like I also feel like we don't reach out to support or
Mm,
accountability as much as we could too. Like I have clients who are like,
mm,
I was scared to like reach out for help or to show that I had this weakness. And it's like it's not a weakness. If you
yes.
are feeling like that, it's just not, it's not a weakness. Everyone needs help. Like we're human beings. We're not meant to do everything alone. We're meant to be in community and help each other. And there's somebody else who has the skills that you don't have yet who can help build you up to the point where you want to be. So that's one of the things I love about being a coach. And if anyone needed that message, then there it is.
Okay, that bears repeating. I want everyone to like rewind and replay what Sade said because we are so guilty, especially as recovering people pleasers, but all adults, like we get to this point where we like, I can't ask for help. I'm supposed to know everything. Like I'm
Hmm.
an adult. I'm supposed to have it all figured out. I'm whatever age. Like especially I feel like this really
Hmm.
happens like when you hit your 30s and like
Hmm.
you just think you're grown and you're supposed to have it all figured out and like really you realize like
Yeah.
you never actually reach that point. We never have it figured out. The sooner you accept that you haven't never will have it figured out, the better off you'll be. And
Hmm.
so yeah, I totally want to reiterate like it is so important to humble yourself and recognize that help is available, help is necessary, and there is no shame. It is not weak, it's actually strong. It's
Hmm.
strong to like acknowledge that you're human and stop pretending that you're like some robot.
Hmm. Everyone can relate to it as well.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's a good point too. It's literally every single person on this earth. I don't care how much you make, who you are, everyone
Hmm.
needs help. And if they say they don't, they're a narcissistic sociopath and you shouldn't trust them anyway.
It's a whole nother podcast episode right there.
We don't want little Miss Perfect and little Mr. Perfect in our life anyway. So
Right.
that's a red flag.
Which doesn't even exist. Perfect doesn't exist. So.
Okay, Sade. Do you have anything that you can share with us? Like, do you have any offerings coming up, or any, like, what ways can we connect with you and learn more from you?
Oh, yeah. So you can connect with me on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter at Sade Kelly
Yeah.
_ I You can also check out my website, thefireinsidesade.com. Right now, I have enrollment open for my Overwhelmed to Organized coaching program. So if you want to learn more about that, you can either DM me or check it out on my website. We can talk about that. And I usually am almost always offering these free time audits, which are calls for people who just want their time audited. Like literally, that's what it is. Like if you are not really sure if you have a time management issue or you have one and you kind of want to figure out how you can be maximizing your time a little bit better, then I'll order your time for you, and then we can go from there. You either can sign up for a service or you get your time audited and you can do it on your own. There are no obligation calls, and I love doing them. So I also offer those as well.
Oh, I'm gonna sign up.
Yes, I would love to help you audit your time. Anytime, Anna.
Okay. The last thing that I would like to ask you, if you are okay with it, you can take a second to think if you need to. I
Okay.
love to end my podcast episodes with a little bit of homework for the listeners, just because everything we talked about is amazing. But like you said, more information is not going to help us if we're not actually implementing it. So I always do like, this is your homework, or do these things, and write in the comments or whatever. So can you give us like a takeaway, like a little mini thing? What can we do this week to help us with our time management?
Ooh, okay. I want everyone to, so is it a comment below or is it like
Yes.
okay,
So whatever Sade tells us to do, we're going to write our homework and say we did it in the comment sections on YouTube.
okay, cool. So I want everyone to figure out when they're gonna actually sit down and plan for the week. I think many people don't do that. Some people watching may do that already, but I want that's one thing I think if you can do that, start sitting down and having a time, consistent time. Like you're gonna pick a day and time, unless you have to change it, but this is like gonna be your consistent time when you're going to actually sit down and reflect on the past week, what went well, what didn't go well, what do you want to improve, and then write out what your priorities are for across the new week, and then actually put it into a calendar or a planner to hold yourself accountable. If you're doing that, you're already you're making some good progress.
Oh, Sade gonna have us making big changes in 2023.
Yes, yes.
She said, get your schedule together.
Yes, please, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Sade. It was such a pleasure to have you here today. Again, my people, check out Sade. Like I know personally, I know Sade for a few months, and I've seen her work, and she's out here changing lives. And I strongly encourage you to check out her social media and check out her website and look into her Organized Overwhelm coaching program. If you are someone who knows that you need to do better with your time management, you know you've been putting yourself on the back burner for way too long, you know you have big goals and big dreams and you want to actually see those happen, hit Sade up. Don't waste no more time. Like, this is the
Mhm.
time. Your life
Right?
matters. It's time to do
Yes.
it.
Listen, time is not renewable. Money is. Okay.
Yes.
If anything.
Ooh, say that again.
Time is not renewable. Money is.
Yes, yes. The ROI you're going to get on this program is going to be amazing.
Thank you so much, Anna. This has been amazing.
All right. Bye.
Bye.